Okay, so looks like I'm live. Let me check if it is all good. Don't see the video still in YouTube. Okay, looks like I'm live. Let me see if the audio is good. I can hear my audio. I was just checking in my mobile, so I was just parallelly checking how the live stream is getting telecasted. So it's all good. So welcome to Tech Primer. So in this session, we are going to see the live coding for Spring Cloud Eureka. So if you're not aware about what is Spring Cloud Eureka, so Spring Cloud Eureka is the wrapper around Eureka which Netflix has built. So if you're aware about the Netflix open source project, so Netflix has built lots of open source libraries like Hystrix, Eureka, uh, lots of different design patterns which we can use in the cloud environment. Okay, so in this particular session, we are going to see the Spring Cloud Eureka. Okay, so let's get started. So what we are going to do here in this project is, so I'm going to create two different microservices. So basically these are two different apps. So one will be a client, one will be a server. So what we are going to see is, we are going to create a intermediate Eureka server, which will act as a discovery service. So the client doesn't have to know what the server host name or the port number is. So intermediately it will just speak with the Eureka registry, and then that will route all the requests to the server. So that is what we are going to see. So how is this helpful in the microservices? Let's say if you have a distributed environment where you have like lots of microservices deployed, and you have different processes talking with each other. However, you don't want to have a host name and port number associated with it. Right? So that is when Eureka will help us. So when we call the request from one microservice to the other microservice, you don't have to request using the host name and the port number. Instead, we use the application name itself, so which is called a service name. So we're going to see how we can create a Eureka server and a Eureka client, and how the client interacts with the server using the Eureka server. Okay, basically the discovery client. So Spring provides a wrapper around Eureka, and it is called Spring Cloud Eureka. So we are going to create Spring Boot applications. So we're going to create three different Spring Boot application. One will be a client, one will be a server, and the other will be a Eureka server. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, I'm going to go to the Spring Initializer. I'm going to create the Eureka server first. So I'm going to create a package. Okay, so the dependency which we need here is the Eureka server. If you see, there are different dependencies here. So I'm going to select the Eureka server. So this is going to create a project with the pom.xml. It will create a skeleton with the Spring Boot version 1.5.3, and then it will also add dependency of Eureka server. Okay, I'm just doing a generate project. Okay, the next one which we need is the server. Okay, so what we can do is, I can say hello server. So I'll create a simple sample project. I'll just show you with a hello world example. Okay, so I'll just create a hello server. So in this case, I don't need the Eureka server, but I need the Eureka discovery servers. Okay, so I need the client side. So I'm going to create this particular server, and same way I need the client. So basically, I need a client from which I will call the server. So I'm going to say generate. Okay. So let's go ahead and unzip these packages. Okay. So what I did is, I created a hello client. I created hello server zip, both I'll unzip, and also I created Eureka servers. Okay. I unzip the projects. Let me open IntelliJ. So I'll open these in the IntelliJ so that we can get started. Let me see if it comes up. So this is my first live stream in YouTube, so I'm not aware of the complete procedure of how it goes. I just took a 5 minute guide or something, so I just wanted to try how it goes because I'm doing a video without any cut. So I thought like if I do a live coding, it will be useful. If suppose if somebody is online, if they want to ask any question, they can post it here. So let's see. Okay, IntelliJ is getting loaded. Let it load. I should have opened it previously, but I wanted to show you how I designed from the beginning. So that is why I am opening it from the beginning. So let me open these projects. I will just click to open. Why is it taking so long? Okay. So I will open Eureka server. So I will open Eureka server. Eureka server open. I think we created Eureka service, right? Let me open service. Okay. Eureka server might be something which I did already. Okay. Okay. If you're not aware, this is another IDE which I use for daily development. So it's called IntelliJ. So if you're not familiar with it, you can try it out. It's very good actually. I've been using it for the past 5 years, so it's pretty good. So I have opened Eureka service. Then I need the hello client. Right? I need the hello client. The hello server. I'll open the hello server as well. Okay, I close this existing projects. So basically we need three projects. So I think we have opened all the three, right? Yeah. So the project is getting loaded. So this is the Eureka service. If you see the dependency, what we added, so we added the Eureka server, right? So the dependency which gets added is Spring Cloud Starter Eureka server. So this is the dependency which is added as a part of the dependency when we selected Eureka server in the Spring Initializer. So using this particular project will be created as a Eureka server. So I'm going to show you how to enable the Eureka server. So apart from adding this dependency, we have to enable this particular project as the Eureka server. So I'm going to say enable Eureka server. So if you see here, that's the annotation which Spring provides. So I'm going to say just at enable Eureka server. This is going to create a Eureka server for us. So what I will do is I'll start this particular process. I'll just name this guy. So I'm going to name this guy as Eureka service, and I'm going to start in the port 8070. Okay, so let's say yeah 8070. Okay. By default, if you see Eureka server starts in the port called 8671, but yeah, we can start in a different port and we can see how we can configure it to a different port. Okay, so this particular Eureka server is going to run in this particular port. Also, by default, if you see the Eureka client is registered because this particular server is a Spring Boot application, so it internally tries to register to itself. So we want to disable that. So for that, I have a config. So we need to add a config. I already have that config here, so I will tell you what it does. So I'm just going to paste that. Let me convert this guy into an application. Okay. So if you see this configuration is for the Eureka client. So what I'm saying that is for the particular Eureka client, register with Eureka, mark that as false. Basically, I'm disabling the registration with the Eureka. So that is what I'm doing here. So basically, I'm saying this particular server will be acting as a server only. So it will not act as a client. So let's start this particular guy. So it should be running in 8070. So when I start this particular Springboard application, it will be started as a Eureka server and it will have a dashboard. So what we are going to see is the dashboard with none of the applications running, because the other two applications, the Hello server and the Hello client, are not running. So we are going to see how it shows in the dashboard. So basically, this is the guy who is going to have the control to the different, who is going to have the, basically it acts as a naming registry, which will have the other applications registered, the other services registered basically. Okay, so let this guy come up and see the dashboard. So I think it has come up. Yeah, it has come up. So let's go to the browser. I'm going to say 8070. This is going to pull up the Eureka dashboard for us. So if you see here, this is the Spring Eureka dashboard. So this shows what is the status of this Eureka server. Okay, if you see here, the environment is marked as test, data center is default. We have only one replication, which is localhost, and this is where all our applications will listed. So right now we don't have any instance, so that is why it is saying no instance available. And there are some other metrics information. Okay, so let's go and start our Hello server. So this particular project, if you see the dependency for this guy, will be Spring Cloud Starter Eureka. So this is the Eureka client dependency, which we will be adding the clients, which will be registering to the Eureka server. So basically, the Eureka service will be the server, which will have the dependency, which is called Spring Cloud Eureka server, and the clients will have the dependency Spring Cloud Starter Eureka. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to enable this particular server into a discovery client. So you can add enable discovery client, or there is another annotation called enable Eureka client. So you can add either one of those just for the naming purpose or the functionality purpose. This is going to be a discovery client, so I'm going to just say enable discovery client. Okay, you can use some other discovery clients as well. So it's not Eureka. There are other discovery clients as well, so you can use that as well. But yeah, I'll just use this particular annotation. Also for the property, we are going to create an application.yaml. So similar to the server side, the client will have a specific set of properties. So I have those already. I'll just paste those. Okay. So basically, you need to give a name to the application. So the Spring application name is the config for it. So this particular app, I'm going to say hello server. Okay, server is named as hello server, and then I'm going to say start it in the port 8071. Okay, already we have the 8070 right for the Eureka server. Eureka service basically. Okay, so if you see this particular config is specific Eureka client where we are enabling the Eureka registration as true. If you see the server, we disabled it, right? For the client, we are enabling it, and also the URL, we are mentioning it URL which this particular guy runs on. So which this particular Eureka service runs on. So it runs on 8070 server. So what we have done is we are mentioning the host name and the port number of the Eureka. Okay, that is what we are doing here. So and also we have added the @enable discovery client here. Okay, so let me start this particular. So what happens? Basically, I have to do the same configuration in both the client, Hello server and the Hello client, because these both are the clients which are registered to this Eureka service. So I'll do the same here. Meanwhile, let the server come up, but I'll add the resource here. YAML. I'm going to use this as client. So I'm going to say hello client. I'm going to say the port number is 2. Okay, if you see here, the hello server has come up. So let's refresh the dashboard. The dashboard should show the Eureka service. So if you see here, it has showed now. So the hello server is now registered and to this particular Eureka service, and it is showing up that it is running on 8071 port. Okay, and this will be the name with which anyone in this particular route can access the server. So I don't have to say hello server colon 8071. So I can directly access this hello server. So that is what we are going to see from hello client. So let's start the hello client. Okay. So I have to enable the discovery client here. Okay, and I'm going to start the server. So once this client is started, this also should be registered with the Eureka service. Basically, all the microservices which are created using the discovery client will be registered to the service. So that is what we are doing. If you see here, we are when we are starting up the Eureka client, we are saying that okay, my Eureka service is this. So all the services or the clients which are coming up will be connecting to this particular Eureka service, and that will act as a central server where all the clients or the services are registered, and whenever you want to access, you will access via that. Okay, so this particular server also has come up 8072. So let's go and check if it is registered to the Eureka server. Okay, if you see here, yeah, it is registered. So I see two instances which are registered to the Eureka service. One is the hello client and one is the hello server. So now that this particular Eureka service is holding the control to these two, we are going to call the server from the client. So I'm going to basically create a REST template in the client, and I'm call the server. In a traditional way, how do we call it? We call the process or the REST endpoint using this particular port number, right? So we don't have to do that when we have a Eureka discovery client. So that is what we are going to see. So how to do that. So let me go ahead and quickly create a simple hello REST endpoint so that we can access and trigger it. So I'm going to create a hello resource. So this will be using the Spring MVC by default. So I'm going to say REST controller and request mapping. So I'll just call it as REST/hello/client just for our reference. Okay. And also I need a REST template, right? So we have to auto-wire the REST template because we need to load that before the Eureka client or the Spring Cloud Eureka loads. So that is why we need a configuration which needs to be loaded. So I'm going to create a class configuration. Okay, and I'm going to say I'm going to add it to the configuration. Okay, basically I'll just do this. Okay, so I created a config class and I'll inject this particular bean, the REST template. So I'll tell you why I'm doing this. I can do a new REST template, but why I should not do that, I'll let you know. So what happens is when these auto configurations are loaded before the Spring Cloud Eureka loads. So whenever we create any bean before the Spring Cloud Eureka loads, Eureka or the Spring Cloud Eureka will know that this is the REST template which I have control to, and using that I'll be able to manipulate the load balances or the service names and stuff like that. Okay, that is why we have to create the REST template beforehand, and it will be a single instance. So Spring Cloud Eureka will be having a control to this particular instance. Okay, so now in the REST loop we can do auto wiring. So I'll do auto wire. Create REST template. Okay, and we need a method. So I'm going to say hello. So this is going to be a basic hello world return statement, but the client hello client is going to call the hello server and then return it. Okay. So I'm going to say REST template dot get from object, and basically a URL and the string dot class. Okay. So I'll create the I'll tell you what this URL will be. So in general, what we do is right. We do the localhost colon 8071 slash red slash hello slash server. Okay. So this is how we generally write, right? So since we have the Eureka server in between, which has registered the client and the server, so we should be able to replace this with the name with which we are calling the server. So what is the name which we are calling the server? Is Spring application name. So this will be the name which we will be giving while accessing the endpoint. So you can directly do this. So you don't have to worry about which port it is and all those things. So that is the idea of this microservices architecture, right? So you don't have to worry about which port it is running. So when you want to scale the cloud application, you don't have to worry about on which port it is running. So you just have to give the service name and then access it via that. So that is why Eureka is helping us in doing. So it's acting as a naming registry. So which is nothing but discovery or the service registry, discovery client or the service registry. So we'll be using that to navigate to the server. Okay, so what we are going to do is we are going to say hello server, and this particular request will be routed to the Eureka service, and from the Eureka service it will be sent to hello server based on the naming convention with which it has got. Okay, so we have created a URL and we are hitting it. Okay, now we need to create this particular REST endpoint on the server side, right? Meanwhile, we can restart this guy and let's go ahead and create the REST endpoint here in the server. Okay, same way we are going to use REST controller. That's what's mapping. I'm going to say REST slash hello slash server. I'm going to just return the hello world example. So I'm not going to do anything fancy here. So I'm going to just return the hello world string. Okay, so there is nothing done in this side except for creating a REST endpoint. But on the client side, what we have done is we have created a REST endpoint. We have auto-wired the REST template, and then we have used the service name to access the URL instead of the hard-coded URL with the port number. Basically, the host name with the port number. Okay, so meanwhile, we'll start the server. Hello server. Okay, if I go to the dashboard, if I refresh the dashboard, you should not see the server. Yeah, server is getting restarted. The client has registered after we restarted. Now the server should register and get started. Once the server is started, we can access the REST endpoint client, and that will internally go to the Eureka service. And from the Eureka service, it will be routed to the hello server, and then it will be retrieving the data. Okay. So let this guy come up. Okay, it has come up. So the REST endpoint which we will be accessing is localhost 8072. That is the client one, right? So REST slash hello slash client. So this is the endpoint which we had. I'm just going to hit that. So the result which we see is the hello world. However, we are not getting that. So why is that? So hello from server. So let's see if the hello server is registered. Yeah, then why didn't we get it? Let's check it out. So there is one problem which I saw, that you have to annotate it with load balance, this particular simply because by default Eureka was doing it sometime back, but right now it is not doing it. So this is one thing which I noticed from the tutorials or the forums which I had been going through. So people were mentioning that you have to add the add load balance, but I'm not sure that will resolve the problem. Let's see if it resolves the problem. Okay. Hopefully it should resolve. Or the only problem I see is that the service name is uppercase. Let me refresh it. Yeah. Okay. So that is the problem. So the uppercase is not an issue. So you don't have to create a service with uppercase or lowercase. So I was just using the lowercase. So that should be fine. So the problem was with the load balanced annotation, which we should be adding in the REST template, because by default the load balancing option is not enabled in the REST template, and that is creating issue while routing the information. But I wanted to try it without. That's why I tried without it. But when I read the forums from Spring communities, so they had mentioned that this is a issue where in the latest version of Spring Cloud Eureka, they have removed this by default. So that is why we have to add it. So if you see here, this particular client is coming to the Eureka server, Eureka service, basically, which is registered the server, and from the Eureka service, which is going to the hello server. if you see the URL which it is accessing, from that it is clearly evident, right? So you just say http/hello server/rest/hello/server. Okay, so this is literally doing a proxy kind of thing, because Eureka service has registered the address of the hello server, and that is how it is routing. Okay, so this is what I wanted to show you. So basically, if you see at a higher level, this hello server is a microservice and hello client is a microservice. So when you, in the real-time projects, if you have a different, for example, if you have a shopping cart, and if you have a web service, and you have payment gateways, or the catalog service, or the file related service. So if you have different microservices, if you want to access them without having to use the port numbers or the host names, so you can use this Eureka, because Eureka will do the load balancing for you, and you don't have to worry about um, the cross data center related information. So let's say you have the payment gateways registered in a different data centers. You don't have to worry about that. Eureka will take that. You just need to register the client to the Eureka server. So that will take care of it automatically. So you don't have to have a hard coded host name like whatever, for example, .com/whatever, or the port and all those things. So you don't have to do that. So Eureka will do this using the naming convention of the application name. So that is how Eureka works. You, if you're not clear about it, you can post some commands or ping me in Facebook or Twitter. So I'll be able to reply to you. That is all I wanted to show you guys. Meet you again in the next video. So sorry for the short notice for this particular video. I know none of you guys have joined for live session in the Hangouts, but still I'll be posting the schedule ahead so that you can check it out before I start the session. Okay, so meet you again in the next session. Hope you found it useful. Thank you again.